We are back on MorningLine. Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams with us, talking his revealed investigation. We've got more phone calls talking about Hillsdale College and the like, and we'll get into the details coming up in just a moment with regard to his story tonight. But let's take a call from Catherine next. Catherine, good morning. Hi, Catherine.
Hey, good morning, Nick and Phil. Thanks for taking my call. So, first of all, I want to say that I think Phil, if he could add into his investigation a background check on the guy that runs Hillsdale, I think that would be informative, because usually people of that sort who deride a system or a process, you will find that they failed themselves in that same system, and out of arrogance they decide, well, I'm going to do it better, and usually they do not do it better. And the second thing I want to say is to the people of Tennessee who constantly vote people like Lee in, they need to rethink their decisions, because when you look at Lee compared to, say, Bredesen, you get a person who is completely ill-equipped to lead anything, much less state. He's sort of like Trump, who was ill-equipped to be a businessman or a political leader, and he's failed in both cases, and Lee is failing now.
Okay, hang tight on that. I don't want to get into too much of the criticism back and forth of candidates and the like, but I think her point is an interesting one. Have you been able to do some research on Larry Arnn's background?
Yes, we have done research on him, and in fact, there may be a forthcoming story about some of the background.
Because I think she's right. I don't know if she's right about what his background is, but I think it's instructive to learn more about where he's coming from.
You know, and one thing that struck a chord with me from what she was saying is that in reading this book over the weekend, The Wolf at the Schoolhouse Door, there have been a number of, highly touted privatization efforts around the country that ended as spectacular failures. People coming in from the business world and say, we're from the business world, we know better how to run schools than teachers. And there have been a number of just incredible failures where these organizations got taxpayer money, but kids were not better as a result.
Meaning you're saying failures because the test scores weren't up, and then did parents and families abandon these schools, or what?
In some cases, they had to be shut down.
Okay.
So there's this image that people from the business world know better, and that is just not a given.
Yeah.
And we probably will be digging into this more later.
Yeah, because you worry about, from the business world, whether it's private schools, private prisons, the bottom line is what always comes into play there. It's all about money if you're a businessman, and that's not always what's best or helps the... What gets me about all these types of stories, Phil, is the big picture here, okay? Whether it's Hillsdale or others, it's the education of our children, the future here. And it shouldn't be taken lightly, and you have to be very careful about how you make changes to it. The important thing to me is I want our children exposed to it all, right. the history with everything in it, and teach them and learn from it. I don't want slanted views, one way or the other, Democrat, Republican, pro this, pro that. I don't need that crap. I want it straight up from the bast, and then your interpretation. The civil rights movement, come on.
Yeah, when Hillsdale talks about indoctrination, what they're really saying is we want our own form of indoctrination.
Right.
And I think what parents are wanting is a system that gives both sides.
Yeah, to have a better educated child. Let's go to Jack. Jack, good morning. Hi, Jack.
Yeah, I'm very much reminded of the Taliban when I hear about this whole situation with Hillsdale and the behavior of the governor. That they seem to be willing to deny reality and pretend that their belief system is somehow the basis for reality. And if our children and our fellow citizens don't face reality, and therefore we can make decisions to improve our state and our country for all of us. And they want to have a very selective view that is, in a sense, fundamentalist, not in a religious sense, but in their little narrow worldview of how things should work, not how they really work. And anybody who thinks that Martin Luther King was not up there in President Johnson's office lobbying for those laws to be passed, the Voting Rights Act, etc., is a liar.
Right.
And the people that are perpetrating these lies are trying to brainwash into believing nonsense that simply is not true. And for me personally, I find that very insulting. And they can take their marbles and go play in another sandlot somewhere.
Jack, thank you for your call.
And Hillsdale is making inroads in Florida. That they have helped DeSantis with the social studies curriculum there. In South Dakota and in Arizona, Carrie Lake, I believe is her name, has said that, you know, if she is elected governor, that she wants to turn education over to Hillsdale.
Let's go to David. David, good morning. Hi, David.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I want to talk on the stadium. I've tried to reach Phil, several weeks ago, but I was unfortunate. I couldn't reach him. I've even been to Channel 5 and I couldn't get him.
What is it?
This stadium thing is a big fraud. If someone tells you that you can tear down your house and rebuild it cheaper than you can put a new roof, that person is selling you.
Okay, hang tight. I think he has a separate thing.
And the best way to reach me is email. Investigate@newschannel5.com is the best way to reach us.
David, that's the best way. And that's fine, David. I think he had something else he wanted to have you guys look into, but investigate@newschannel5.com?
Investigate@newschannel5.com. And I was referencing, there's a news story posted today on salon.com. Tennessee showdown, governor's big plan for right-wing charter schools sparks fierce backlash. And it's talking about what has happened here in Tennessee since our story with the hidden camera
And there has
video.
been a backlash. I think all of us know teachers, okay? And most of the teachers I know are wonderful people that are extremely hard workers that do a great job in the public schools. And my son was educated in public schools. The backlash, we didn't touch on that yet. In the aftermath, I mean, it was almost across the board. I didn't hear a lot of people, conservatives and Republicans. It's one of those rare cases where you pretty much had bipartisan reaction.
Absolutely.
That what Larry Arnn said was a bunch of crap. And they were upset about it, and it was across the board. Is that pretty much what we still see now?
It is, but here's the problem, and again, alluding to what's in this article, because this article deals with the Public Charter School Commission. You have lawmakers who were outraged. The head of one of the House Education Committees, Representative White, said he felt like that Hillsdale was done in Tennessee. The problem is, the Charter Commission, as constituted right now, will be voting in October on these 3 Hillsdale applications, and there's not a darn thing the legislature can do about it.
Right, and so just as we go to the break, can there be pressure applied to it? Because really, when you look at the big picture here, as you said, at these meetings, Hillsdale didn't even send anyone to debate why they should be there, because they figured it just doesn't matter what these folks vote for, because this governor has set up the commission. The governor supports Hillsdale. The governor appointed everyone on that commission, I'm guessing, knowing who he was appointing, about how they felt about Hillsdale. So the fix was in for the very beginning. I mean, is there anything, can public pressure from these constituencies, have a sway at all on this commission, in your opinion?
I think that is yet to be seen.
Well, it needs to be clear. I want to know the names of everyone on the commission. I want to know their background, and I want to know who they are, and I'm going to want to know how they voted.
Right. And there are public hearings coming up September 14th, 15th, and 16th, I believe. You can check my Twitter. I have that there, and I will retweet it here during the commercial break. But, if people feel strongly, this is their chance to be heard, especially if you're in Rutherford County, if you're in Clarksville, Montgomery County. This will be your chance to be heard by this commission appointed by the governor. And we'll have to watch closely and see how this plays out.
These meetings will be open, right? So, I mean, the
Absolutely.
media will be there to cover it. And whether you support it or against it, you should be there for it. But I want to see everyone, and I want to know how they vote. And that's where sometimes pressure can be applied.
Right.
We'll take a break, and we'll be back with one more segment with Phil right after this.